Attention bowlers, we are going to get started. From Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. My name is Steve Kelly, and I will be your host and guide during this Class B playoff match between today's challengers, Dominick Paladino versus Eric Hallee Sr. Good as always to have you along with us, originally live streamed on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, and available for rewatching anytime upon the conclusion of this match. For those interested, I would like to highlight two things. First, in most cases, the broadcast should be available with subtitles and live captioning. So if you enjoy this feature, please feel free to enable it in the controls below. And if you're watching this broadcast on YouTube, the transcript feature will be likely also available. Secondly, throughout the match, I'll describe the play-by-play action and provide up-to-the-minute scoring to the best of my ability. Keep an eye on the unofficial scoreboard on your screen. It's here for the benefit of the broadcast, where the bowlers maintain their own official records separately. Scores may be subject to review or correction at any time. And we've already started with some action. We have Dominick Paladino with a spare with a 6 fill to start things out already while I was talking. And he's shooting for a 10 box now. He misses the second spare. He's left with the 2 pin and the 5 pin on the deck. We're on lanes 15 and 16 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. And Dominick for the 10 box. He'll take the 10 box. Dominick on target. 26 after 2 is the current update for Dominick Paladino. So we are in the semifinal playoff matches of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North Championship Tournament. Dominick Paladino finished the regular season with a record of 133 and 119 with 18 matches played. That was a 1.11 kill-death ratio for Dominick Paladino. Dominick Paladino punching out the center, spread eagle, minus the 10 pin. That's the 2, the 3, the 4, the 6, and the 7 pins on the deck. Dominick Paladino trying to convert this into a spare. It won't be easy. Dominick shoots at the right half, takes out the 2 sticks on the right half. The 3 and the 6 go down. The 2, the 4, and the 7 stay on the deck. Dominick Paladino finished the regular season with a home record of 62 and 64 with 9 matches. That was a .96 win-loss ratio, and Dominick will finish with a 9 box in the third to put him at 35 after 3. Dominick Paladino's away record, meanwhile, after 9 matches this season was 71 and 55, considerably better with a 1.29 win-loss ratio. This is Dominick Paladino down there on lane 15. Dominick Paladino in the black shirt and the black pants on the left lane of the 2-lane pair. He drops an awkward array of 5 pins, a left side accordion plus the 10 pin. That's the 7, 8, 10, 4, 5. Let's take a closer look at that, shall we? Look at that. So Dominick Paladino has a piece of wood, half in the gutter, half out. And I don't really think that piece of wood is going to really do much for him at this point. But it's a 7, 8, 10, 4, 5. Dominick thinking long and hard about this shot. It's going to be for a spare. He's at 35 after 3. He throws it. He punches out one more pin. He punches out the 8 and only the 8, leaving the 7, the 10, the 4, and the 5 on the deck. Dominick Paladino is now looking to shoot for between 6 and 10 for the 4th box. And Dominick will take one more out. I will wait on the bowler's call on that one. It looks like it's going to be a 7 box as Eric Hallee Sr. waiting in the wings before Dominick finishes. We have JJ Tarigny on the CompuScore scoreboard down there out of frame, but he's keeping scores for our bowlers tonight. Dominick Paladino with 42 after 4, hoping to sit on something big. He misses the 1-2 pocket. The 1, 3, 6, 4, 7, 9, 10 is what he's shooting at. Effectively a left side half Worcester minus the 5 pin for Dominick Paladino. Dominick the Dominator Paladino with a season average in the regular season at 107.95, 21st in B class, and can he convert the sort of kind of left side half Worcester for the 3, except for the 3 pin? The answer to that, in short, is no. He's left with only the 3 pin. Paladino for a 10 box. Will he take it out? He'll take out everything but the 3 pin. 3 pin even wiggling. That's a 9 box for Paladino. That's 51 after 5 to finish the first half of the first game for Dominick Paladino. Here we go. Again, 51 after 5 for Dominick Paladino at the end of the first game here. And we're going to say hello to Eric Hallee Sr. for the first time tonight at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Eric Hallee Sr. in the black shirt and the dark navy blue jeans. Eric Hallee Sr., a little bit shorter than Dominick Paladino in terms of height as well. Eric Hallee Sr. dropping 7, missing the head pin, but he's left with the 1, the 2, and the 4 pins on the deck. Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting for his first spare of the night. Can he get it? Let's see if he can. He will. He'll take the 1-2 pocket out for a spare to start things out. 10 after 1 for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. concluded the regular season at 130 and 122 with 18 matches played, and that was a 1.06 win-loss ratio after all the dust was settled. I'll show you the graphic of the playoff picture as well in terms of how well Eric Hallee Sr. has done. Eric Hallee Sr. will take a right side lemon drop on the 6 pin for a 1 fill. 11 after 1 for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. finished the regular season at home 76 and 50 after 9 matches with a 1.52 win-loss ratio. His away record, meanwhile, was a .75 win-loss ratio at 54 and 72. Eric Hallee Sr. just trying to salvage things here for a 10 box. He got no spare. He's left with the 3 pin, and he'll take a 9 box. 20 after 2 for Eric Hallee Sr. here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Good as always to have you along with us. Again, I'm Steve Kelly, and I welcome you to this ACST Class B North playoff match between Eric Hallee Sr. and Dominick Paladino. Eric Hallee Sr., who's bowling now on lane 15 on the left. He's our home bowler tonight. Dominick Paladino, the challenging away bowler from Leda Lanes. Eric Hallee Sr. will take out 5 pins for a left side cleary. And the left side cleary is the 1, the 2, the 1, 2, 4, 7, and 9. Hallee Sr. shooting for the spare. He'll take out all but the head pin. And the head pin remains for a 10 box opportunity for Eric Hallee Sr. with a piece of wood half in and half out on the left channel. Eric Hallee Sr. will shoot at the head pin, but he'll miss. He'll take a 9 box. That'll be 29 after 3 for Eric Hallee Sr. here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Dominick Paladino finishing the first half of the first game with 51 with 1 mark. Eric Hallee Sr. also has 1 mark, but he filled it with only 1. So it was a great 11 box, but we'll see if he can do something better here. Eric Hallee Sr. a little bit full on the head pin on the 1-3 pocket. He's left with a 4-6-2 or 2-4-6, whichever one you prefer. But it's Eric Hallee Sr. at Lakeside Lanes versus the 2, the 4, and the 6 pin. The 4 pin is orange, and he'll sail right through the 2-4-6, almost in the same place as his first ball, actually. So he's shooting for a 10 box, 7, 8, 9, or 10 box for Eric Hallee Sr. at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. On lane 15, he fires, and he misses again. 2 misses in a row for Eric Hallee Sr. That's 7 after 4 for 36 after 4. For Eric Hallee Sr. Compare that to 42 after 4 for Dominick Paladino. Oh, yeah, a quick moment. Let's take a look at the playoff picture. In the semifinals with Rob Brown versus John Alosa, Rob Brown was defeated by John Alosa at Boutwell's Bowling Center in Cochrane, New Hampshire. So the winner of tonight's match will go on to face John Alosa at Boutwell's Bowling Center. And Eric Hallee Sr. dropping 8, leaving the 4 and the 7 on the deck. 4 and the 7 with some wood around, but none of the wood is particularly going to be helpful. A nice shot on the 4-7 pocket is the operative shot for Eric Hallee Sr. And will he get it? Yes, he sure will. And Eric Hallee Sr. will conclude that half with a spare for 46 plus a ball after 5 for Eric Hallee Sr., putting him at great pace against Dominick Paladino, who finished at a closed 51 half at the end of the first half of the first game. And we're going to say hello to Dominick Paladino once again for the second half of the first game. Dominick Paladino for the first time tonight on lane 16 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's Dominick Paladino down there. I'm Steve Kelly back here. Great as always to have you along. If you're just tuning in, welcome to this ACST Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North semifinal playoff match between Dominick Paladino versus Eric Hallee Sr. at Eric Hallee Sr.'s home house at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. The winner of tonight's match will go on to face John Alosa for the championship of the 2023-2024 Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour season. Dominick Paladino won't convert for a spare. He's left with the 2 and the 3 on lane 16 for a 10-box opportunity. Dominick Paladino for the 10 box. He's got to pick a stick, 2 or 3. He picks none of them for an 8 box. 59 after 6 for Dominick Paladino now. Dominick Paladino with a season average in the regular season, 107.95. That was the 21st best in B class. His home average was 106. That is minus 3.9 off of his away average, which was 109.9. So Dominick statistically has a higher average when he's away compared to home at Leda Lanes. Dominick will fire to the left of the head pin. He's left with a 1 and the 3 after some late falling pins. He didn't connect with the head pin, but he had a generous spare leave here. So let's see what Dominick Paladino can do here versus the 1-3. 1-3 pocket for a layup spare, just like the Celtics starting their finals tomorrow. Dominick will miss the 1-3 pocket. He'll connect full on the 3, missing the 1. Dominick versus just the head pin now for a 9 or a 10 box here at Lakeside Lanes. Paladino. He'll take that 9 box. He'll take that head pin out for a 10 box. 69 in 7 for Dominick Paladino. Eric Hallee Sr. concluding the half at 46 plus a ball after 5. Dominick Paladino on lane 16. Lakeside Lanes, Manchester, New Hampshire, with Shane Lipke working the desk, answering the phones, being a great host for all of us here tonight. A couple folks bowling to our right, including Dave LaRoche from the ACST B North class. Also have Rob Holleran and Sue Holleran off to the right. Dominick Paladino with a right side cleary. And will he convert the cleary? He won't. He'll punch a little bit full. He's left with the 3-6-10 on lane 16. Paladino for a 10 box. 7, 8, 9 or 10 box for Dominick Paladino. And he'll take 2 more for a 9. That will put Paladino at 78 after 8 here at Lakeside Lanes and Manchester, New Hampshire. Let's take a look at the stats for Dominick Paladino while we have a quick moment. So again, he finished 6th overall in the regular season. Those are regular season stats, mind you. He had 9,713 seasonal total pins, seasonal high 5 of 603, and a high 1 of 143. That's the story for Dominick Paladino in the regular season. And he fires on lane 16, and he has a couple pins dance around for a lazy 9 drop. Just the 6 pin is on the deck for Paladino. At this point, Paladino needs this mark to get over 100. He'll bean that 6 pin out for a spare. Single pin spared right when he needed it. That puts him at 88 plus a ball and 9. So 2 marks so far for Paladino. Otherwise, it's just been a series of 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. See, this fill needs to be big for Dominick Paladino. Off to the left of the head pin. Pin still falling, though. Generous spinning piece of wood. Takes out a lot more for an 8 fill. He's left with the 1 and the 10. That puts him at 96 and 9. We'll see how Dominick Paladino can take this out for a spare. There's some wood to the right of the head pin. That might be favorable for him, all things considered. And that goes exactly as planned. He'll take a 2nd spare in a row, keeping us all on our toes. That's 106 plus a ball for Dominick Paladino. I'll show you some stats while we're still waiting here, while Dominick just clears the lane out from a wayward piece of wood in the channel. So again, his season average is 107.95, but his away average is 109.9, so he might actually do a little bit better. And right now, he's on track to go over his average, barring no disasters with this fill. And he drops 7 on that fill, the 2, the 4, and the 5. He salvages that first game on what could have been disastrous. That's a 7 fill for 113 for Dominick Paladino, setting the pace early. For Eric Hallee Sr., he averages at home 109.3 overall in the regular season. We'll see what Eric Hallee Sr. can do now. Eric Hallee Sr., again, regular season average of 106.3. When he's away, his average is 103.3. Something to be considered if he ends up going on to the championship, which I believe will be at Boutwell's Bowling Center against John Alosa. But Eric Hallee Sr. will fill that spare at the half with 5. The spread eagle minus the 3 pin on the deck. And can he take it out? He'll punch the 2 pin out. Banana split. Who's hungry? The 4, the 6, the 7, and the 10 are what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at. 4, 6, 7, 10. Some wood across the 6 pin. Eric will pick a side, and he'll take an 8-box. That will put him at 59 after 6 for Hallee Sr. Here at Lakeside Lanes, Manchester, New Hampshire, Eric Hallee Sr. gearing up for the first ball of the 7th frame, the first game of 5 here at Lakeside Lanes. He'll drop 7. Methodical ball, 2-4-7 is what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at here for a spare opportunity, spare leave. Should be a relatively simple spare leave, though. Lakeside Lanes, some of this wood can be surprisingly tricky, but not for Eric Hallee Sr. right now. Take out all those pins for a spare for 69 plus a ball and 7 for Eric Hallee Sr. I'll show you the stats for Eric Hallee Sr. while we're at it. So these are his regular season stats. He finished 4th overall, and he finished as a division leader, putting him right into the playoffs by winning his division. It's a little like the NFL in terms of how the divisions work here in the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, as well as the PBA, the 10-pin version of bowling. Eric Hallee Sr. will fill that spare with 8. The 5 and the 9. 5-9. 5-9 to service. Can the 5-9 to service survive the downtime onslaught that is Eric Hallee Sr.? Eric Hallee Sr. versus 5-9. Let's see what Eric Hallee Sr. can do here. Can he get a second spare in a row? He fires. He's going to play the wood, and he'll take the spare. Someone call up 5-9 because those 5-9s of service do not apply. Eric Hallee Sr. now at 87 plus a ball in the 8th. Hallee Sr. 2 spares in a row. 4th spare of the game. And he's on the head pin. Drops 7, drops 8. The 5 and the 3 are what's left on the deck. 95 and 8 now for Hallee Sr. Let's see this up close. Piece of wood against the 3-pin, favorably curved towards the 5. And can he get his 3rd spare in a row? 3 marks in a row for Eric Hallee Sr. That's bonus money if this were still WCVB Channel 5, but that puts him at 105 plus a ball and 9. At this point, Eric Hallee Sr. might be able to remain on pace with Dominick and even take some extra pins. Again, it's not about winning the particular games in the playoffs. It's about the grand total pinfall that determines the winner. Eric Hallee Sr. dropping 9. It looks like it's almost a strike. 7-pin wiggles. He drops 9. 114 in 9 for Eric Hallee Sr. So at this point, he has taken the first game, and he's up +1. And he's not done yet. Can he get his 4th mark in a row? 5 marks for this game for Hallee Sr. Can he get his 6th mark? Let's find out. Tune in. Thanks for watching, by the way. I'm Steve Kelly back here. That's Eric Hallee Sr. down there, and he'll gutter it. He'll hit a piece of wood in the gutter. The 7-pin stays. My apologies if I said the 9-pin earlier. I meant the 7-pin. It was a 9-drop 7-pin. My pin numbers get a little bit confused. Hallee Sr. will miss that pin for a 9-box. He'll finish with 123 versus Dominick's 113. Hallee Sr. will take the first game by 10 and up in the total by 10, needless to say. So that's the story for the first game. We're going to move on to the second game here. And welcome to the second game here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Playoff Candlepin Bowling, your favorite time of year. Let's say hello to Dominick Paladino once again to the approaches of Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire on lanes 15 and 16. Paladino. Shane saying to Eric, I don't know about you, but I would have fired at that 7-pin for the spare. Shane Lipke, son of Tim Lipke here at Lakeside Lanes. Tim Lipke, the owner of Lakeside Lanes. What can I tell you about Lakeside Lanes? Lakeside Lanes opened in 1959, nearly the same age as Leda Lanes, at roughly 64 years of age. Dominick with a left side half Worcester. Can he convert for a spare? Pin still falling. 6-7 are left on the deck. According to Lakeside Lanes' About Us page on their website, rigid specifications of construction and the highest standards of official bowling regulations require that the wood be level to the width of 40 out of 1/1000th of an inch. That was so precise that setting the wood alone required more than a month's time. Dominick Paladino for the 10-box, and he'll take the 10-box on the 6-7. It's 10 after 1 for Dominick Paladino. Lakeside Lanes has a soundproofing system in which 85% of all sound is absorbed. Tim Lipke is the owner of Lakeside Lanes. His son Shane Lipke, Bobby Grayco, and all of the other staff that work here at Lakeside Lanes do an amazing job at keeping this place looking and feeling great. Tons of leagues, really fun and unique pools for things such as 4 strikes in a row, 50 over your average, and the orange pin pool. And that's Dominick Paladino with the 7-9-10 with some wood that could be generous, could be not. The wood's still settling. Dominick waiting for it to settle, as is regulation per regular Candlepin bowling rules. 7-9-10, piece of wood in front of the 9 pin is probably what Dominick Paladino should be shooting at, but he'll miss it. He'll take out the wood in front of the 7 pin to kick the 7 pin out and leave the 9 and 10 safely on the deck. This is an 8, 9, or 10 box for Dominick Paladino in the second game of this 5-game series, and he'll play the wood this time, and I guess it wouldn't have gone anyway. He'll take a 9 box for 19 after 2 for Dominick Paladino. Lakeside Lanes uses manual electronic scoring and manual lane resetting, with CompuScore being the scoring software used. Also known as TeleScore. There used to be a system called TeleFoul, but that's been turned off. Compared to Leda Lanes, Lakeside Lanes' ball returns are positioned a bit further down the approach, about 4 or 5 feet from what I can tell. This may slightly alter your perception of lane length, as well as maybe mess with where your starting position is when you go to bowl. It's a right side washout for Paladino, but he tries to convert the washout to a spare. But he's left with the 4 and the 10 pins on the deck. Piece of wood in front of the 4 pin. I'd play the 4 pin in some way. Dominick Paladino agrees. He'll try to play it, and he will. He'll take both out for a 10. 10, 9, 10. 29 after 3 for Dominick Paladino. Lakeside Lanes is a bit of a slower house. That means bowlers need to throw a bit of a slower and more methodical ball to ensure that they don't simply punch out. This house isn't super unforgiving, though, especially in recent years where we've seen a lot more deck wall action where pins will tend to roll, fly, spin, and spread a bit more than they have in the past 1 or 2 years. To me, it feels just about right. This is a pretty fair house. Dominick Paladino drops 7. The 5, 6, 3 are on the deck. Compared to Leda Lanes' mid-lane guiding arrows, which are positioned all on the same y-axis, Lakeside's guiding arrows start closest to the bowler at their opposite ends, and that's a spare for Dominick Paladino. Taking out the triangle loses. Lakeside also has a bunch of new chairs that were part of Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, which recently closed. And Park Place Lanes had recently completed a bit of a renovation of themselves right before they closed, so Lakeside Lanes ended up inheriting a lot of that brand new equipment, and Dominick Paladino will wash out the left side for a 3 fill, an unfortunate 3 fill on that spare. And that is the 1, 5, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10. And the 5. Well, yes, the 5. I already said the 5. Dominick trying to convert the washout for a spare, and he's on the pocket, on the invisible pocket, but he leaves the 5, 6, 10. He hit it right, but pins just didn't go. 5, 6, 10 for Dominick Paladino for a 10 box to conclude the first half of the second game. Dominick will take out the 10 pin for an 8 box for 50 after 5. 50 after 5 for Paladino, similar to his first game, plus or minus 1 pin. Eric Hallee Sr., meanwhile, stepping up to the deck. Here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Kelly. Thanks for tuning into this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North playoff action on this Wednesday night, June 5th, 2024. And Eric Hallee Sr. will drop 7 right out of the gate. The 5, 6, 10 are what he's shooting at. No wood to help him. This is a hard shot. It is called the right side setback, plus the 6 pin. Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. will sail through the 5 and the 6, hitting nothing. Between the 5 and the 6, that is. Eric Hallee Sr. finished with one match over 600 and 5 of 18 matches over 550 in the regular season. And will he take the 10 box? He almost does. He does. Late falling pins. Missed the second, get the third. That's a PGS. That's 10 after 1 for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. bowled his high single of 143 twice. That was against Dave LaRoche in round 1, and then versus Steve Kelly in round 7. Hallee Sr. fires. Drops 9, much better first ball. Drops all to the 6. Eric Hallee Sr.'s high series is 615. He bowled that against Steve Kelly in round 7. Hallee Sr. versus a single pin spare on the 6 pin. We'll see if he can get it. He'll miss it, actually. He'll sail to the right of the 6 pin into the channel effectively. In the regular season, Eric Hallee Sr. finished with 42 strikes, 170 spares, and 199 tens. Hallee Sr. for the 10 box. He'll miss that too. 9 box. 19 after 2 for Hallee Sr., matching Dominick Paladino's 19 after 2. And I hope this broadcast finds you well. Everyone involved here, from the bowlers to the staff you cannot see all around, as well as all the spectators here, appreciate your viewership and interest in this live stream, as well as Candlepin Bowling as a whole. I'm sure they would always appreciate your business, especially if you want to stop into Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, off of Exit 1 on Route 101 in New Hampshire. It's like you're driving to the seacoast, but you decide to go bowling instead on Exit 1. Eric Hallee Sr. with the 2 and the 8 pins. For the spare shot, he'll hit the 2 and leave the 8. And he's shooting for a 10 box now. Let's see what Hallee can do. He'll miss it for another 9. 10-9-9, that's 28 after 3. Eric Hallee Sr. finished the regular season with a perfect box percentage of 48. He finished the regular season with 9,568 seasonal total pins, and he's on the 1-3 pocket, and he drops a quick 10. An easy strike for Eric Hallee Sr., 38 and a fill after 4 now. That was a nice ball. Piece of wood spinning around, and we got to pause for lane maintenance because we just had an interesting pin setter activity. Call it a pin setter activity. Let's take a look at the playoff picture once more in case you missed it earlier. So in the semifinals recently, Rob Brown squared off against John Alosa at Boutwell's Bowling Center in Concord, New Hampshire. He fell to John Alosa 492 to 551, so that means John Alosa moves on to the final round of the Class B 2023-2024 playoffs of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. The winner of tonight's match, either Dominick Paladino or Eric Hallee Sr., will move on to the finals to face Mr. John Alosa. Eric Hallee Sr. most recently faced myself at Lakeside Lanes in the quarterfinals. That match is available on Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube. Eric Hallee Sr. obviously won the match, 537 to Steve Kelly's 508. He threw 1 strike, 13 spares, and 7 tens in that match with a 42% perfect box percentage. Eric Hallee Sr.'s 5 games in that match were 96, 112, 96, 132, and 101, and he averaged 107 on the night. And it looks like we're just about ready to roll here now that the dust has settled down there on lane 15 at Lakeside Lanes. The last time Eric Hallee Sr. faced Dominick Paladino in round 4 at Leda Lanes, he only took 2 points. Dominick Paladino took the rest. Eric Hallee Sr. for the double strike. It's always unfortunate when you get iced, but he'll drop 6 for the first ball of 2 for the fill. Against Dominick Paladino in the last time they met, Eric Hallee Sr. finished with a 5-12 match series with 0 strikes, 11 spares, and 13 tens. So he's already doing better in the strikes department. 3, 6, 7, 10, and he'll take it for the spare. Hallee Sr. Spare on strike is what they call it in Candlepin Bowling, or at least that was what Doug Brown would frequently say on WNDS TV 50. And that is the story for Eric Hallee Sr., 58 plus a ball in the 5th. Versus Dominick Paladino's closed 50 half here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Eric Hallee Sr. with 1 strike and 6 spares, and we're only a game and a half into this 5-game series. Dominick Paladino with 0 strikes and 4 spares. But let's see what he can do now. Dominick Paladino with a 50 half. What can he do on lane 16 on the 1-3 pocket? He'll connect with the right pocket, but he's left with kind of a slightly junk leave. The left side inverted check mark plus the 10 pin. That is the 2, the 4, the 5, the 7, and the 10. For Mr. Paladino, this will be a pretty spare if he can take it out. 5, 7, 10, 4, 2. He'll take out just the pins in the middle, leaving the 7, 10, and the 4. Dominick Paladino shooting for a 10 box on lane 16. In And Manchester, New Hampshire, Lakeside Lanes will take out the 4, leaving the 7 and the 10 for an 8-box. Paladino at 58 after 6. Appreciate you watching. I'm Steve Kelly back here. That's Dominick Paladino down there. Dominick Paladino, the Dominator. The only person left standing in Class B North Division 3. Dominick Paladino's seasonal high single was 143. He bowled that against Paul Mativier in round 2. His high series was 603 against Joe Moose de Almeida in round 8. He finished the regular season with 68 strikes, 138 spares, and 183 tens. That's the 153 that Dominick Paladino is shooting at for a spare. He needs this spare, and he'll take everything but the 5. Rough luck for Dominick Paladino. Dominick Paladino's perfect box percentage in the regular season was 46%. He'll take a 9-box, missing the 5-pin. 67 and 7 for Paladino. Dominick finished the regular season with 9,713 seasonal total pins. And he finished the regular season 3rd place in B North Division 3, behind JJ Tarigny and Steve Kelly, but ahead of Paul Mativier. But he's the only one left standing in the playoffs as of right now, and that's a left side lemon drop for Dominick Paladino on the 4-pin. He entered the playoffs as a number 2 wildcard seed in B North, finished 6th place overall in B North, and the only one who hasn't been eliminated in B North Division 3 in terms of playoff contention. Dominick Paladino taking out a few more. 4, 6, 3, 7 is what he's shooting at. There's a piece of wood between the 5 and the 7. And he'll punch the 5, just taking a 7-box for Paladino. 74 and 8. Not quite a runaway yet from Paladino, or for Eric Hallee Sr., I mean, but Paladino's going to need some marks to kind of keep the total alive here. 187 to 181, but Dominick Paladino is plus 3 boxes, so you kind of see the bit of the situation that is starting to unfold here. Paladino, great shot on the 1-3 pocket. The impact just doesn't cooperate. And I was talking about this with Eric Hallee Sr. We were reminiscing about our match here at Lakeside, where both of us were just getting some leaves that weren't making a lot of sense. Eric was saying I wasn't quite getting the shots that I deserved, and I was saying the same with Eric. We were just both getting a little bit robbed here and there, but Dominick Paladino will take 2 out in the middle, a little bit full, leaving the 10-pin for a 10-box. 9 or 10. We'll take a 9. That puts him at 83 and 9 for Paladino. Might just be taking a game off here. 83 and 9. Dominick Paladino in the regular season has 1 match over 600, and he had 7 of 18 matches over 550. In his past 5 matches in the regular season, he took 26 points. Unfortunately, that was down 19 from the previous 5. Paladino missing the pocket to the left. He's left with the right side 4 horsemen, the 1, 3, 6, and 10. He finished the regular season number 2 with the most strikes in B class at 62. Paladino for the spare. Will he run down the right side spread? 4 horsemen, he won't. He'll miss it to the left. So he's looking at a maximum 93 game at this point. Paladino for a remedial ball. He'll take a 9. 92 and 10 for Paladino. Slightly off game. Not as disastrous as you might think it is. There's still 3 games to go. Still plenty of time to make things up. That puts Eric Hallee Sr. at an advantage at 58 plus a fill in the 5th here. So we'll see what Eric Hallee Sr. can do with that potential opening that has opened up here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's Eric Hallee Sr. down there. I'm Steve Kelly back here. Eric Hallee Sr. for his the conclusion of his first half, which was quite thrilling, and the start of the second half of the second game. And it'll hit a little bit full on the head pin. It looks like a 5 fill after all said and done for Hallee Sr. 63 in 5. 3, 6, 9, 4, 7. He'll punch the 6, leaving everything else on the deck. So the streak of mark ends here. He had a spare on strike at the end of the first half. Shooting for a potential 73 and 6. Will he get it? He'll get close. He'll take an 8 box for 71 and 6 for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. finished the regular season leading Class B North Division 4 ahead of Casey McCool, David LaRoche, and Faye Sawyer. He finished overall number 4th in B North. Hey, that rhymes. And Eric Hallee Sr. dropped 6, leaving the 4 horsemen right side. 1-3-6-10 are on the deck. Eric Hallee Sr. most notably bowled his seasonal high single twice in Week 1 and Week 7 versus Dominick Paladino, and then again versus Steve Kelly. That high single was 143. Eric Hallee Sr., he takes 2, leaves 2. Like a convenience store, take a penny, leave a penny tray. Leaves the 1-3 for a 10 box. 8, 9, or 10 for Hallee Sr. He'll take a 10. Quite handily, 81 and 7 for Hallee Sr. Compare that to 67 and 7 for Paladino. Eric Hallee Sr.'s past 5 regular season matches netted him 38 points, and that was exactly equal to his previous 5, so it's a consistent performance for Eric Hallee Sr. overall. 10 out of those 18 matches were with double-digit points take-homes, which is always nice in terms of the points and overall playoff positioning. He finished a division leader, so it's no surprise. That's a left side half Worcester minus the 5-pin for Hallee Sr., so that's 3 down, 7 up. Trying to reconcile it. He'll take the 4, he'll take the 7. Left with the 1, 3, 6, 10, 9. The 9-pin's the sleeper of the right side 4 horsemen for Eric Hallee Sr. He's shooting for a 10 box for a potential 91 in 8. What'll he get? He'll connect it. He'll connect with the 1-3 pocket and run them all down. He'll take a 10 box. Best possible outcome in the 3rd ball, 91 and 8 for Eric Hallee Sr. Exceeding Dominick Paladino 74 and 8, and he's not done yet. In the past 5 regular season matches, Eric Hallee Sr. took 56 spares, and that was up 14 from the previous 5, averaging 11.2 spares per match on average. He'll miss the head pin, dropping 6, leaving the 1, 3, 6, 10. Right side 4 horsemen. Seem to be saying that a lot tonight. But Eric Hallee Sr. just ran the shot down plus the 9-pin, so let's see if he can repeat what he just did. But he'll miss it slightly to the left. Might have thought about that ball a little bit too much before releasing it. Held onto it a little bit too late, I think. So it's going to be a 6 through 10 box for Eric Hallee Sr. Will he get to 101 and 9? Let's find out. He'll hit the head pin a little bit too full. It's a 7 box for 98 in 9 for Mr. Eric Hallee Sr. With a substantially higher match win rate when at home in the regular season. Per home match in the regular season, it was an 8.44 point take home versus 6 points per away match in terms of the take home on average in the regular season. Eric Hallee Sr. will miss the head pin, dropping 5. 7, 8, 10, 6, 1 is what he's shooting at. Awkward array of pins. 1, 6, 7, 8, 10. Eric Hallee Sr. he's shooting at. And he's on the operative object pin. He takes out everything but the 8-pin. It's a great shot. It was nice to watch. For the 10 box, Eric Hallee Sr. will conclude with a 9 box for 107 in the second. So actually, it's not really a runaway just yet for Eric Hallee Sr. He kind of cooled off a little bit in the second half of this game, but he's still up by 25 overall. 2-game total of 230 for Eric Hallee Sr. versus Dominick Paladino's 2-game total of 205. In the second game, Dominick Paladino rolled 92, while Eric Hallee Sr. rolled 107 in the second. But we're going to move on to the 3rd game. Enough about the 2nd game. Let's jump down to the 3rd game. Welcome to the 3rd game. Going to say hello to Dominick Paladino once again to the approaches of Lakeside lanes on lane 15. Dominick Paladino off to the left of the head pin. The 1, 3, 6, 7 is what he's shooting at. Dominick Paladino in the last... He has 7 out of 18 regular season matches with a double-digit take-home. Dominick Paladino misses the head pin again to the right this time, leaving the 1 and the 7 pin on the deck for an 8, 9, or 10 box for Paladino. Dominick Paladino's longest streak of games at or over 110 was 6 from Week 7, games 3 through 5, and Week 8, games 1 through 3. That is an 8 box for Dominick Paladino to start out this 3rd game here. It's 8 after 1. Last time Dominick Paladino faced Eric Hallee Sr. in round 4 at Leda Lanes, he took 12 points out of a possible 14 with a 582 series. 4 strikes, 10 spares, and 16 tens is what Dominick Paladino took home that day. He drops 7, missing the head pin again, but a generous drop. So he leaves all but the 1, 2, and 8 pins. 8 pin is a sleeper behind the 2 pin. That's going to be a difficult one to take. The 1-2 pocket is obviously the one to shoot at. And you just got to spray and pray for the 8 pin. But Dominick will do just that. He'll take a spare. That is a much harder shot than it looks. And it's pretty when it goes. That's 18 in a ball after 2 for Dominick Paladino. Here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, starting out this Game 3 of this 5-game semifinal series. The competitive tension is palpable in this building. Dominick Paladino off to the right of the head pin. It's a 5 fill. A bouquet of pins in the center. 23 after 2 for Paladino. Let's take a look at that. 1, 2, 5, 8, 9. The 8 pin's an orange pin. That's why it's a little tough to see. Paladino for the bouquet. He'll take the 9 pin out, leaving 1, 2, 5, and 8. The little 2x2 quadrant of pins in the center of the lane. No wood to help him. 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 box for Dominick Paladino. 23 after 2. Can he make it 33 after 3? He'll get close. He'll leave the 5 pin for a 9 box. He'll try his best. He'll end up with 32 after 3 for Dominick Paladino. Eric Hallee Sr. talking about that sleeper pin and how difficult it is. And, yep, like I said, I can't disagree with that. Paladino averages 7.88 points per away match on average in the regular season. And when he's home, that's 6.89 points per home match. And Dominick will punch a little bit full. He's left with the 1, the 3, the 9, the 4, and the 7 on the deck. The 1-3 pocket is what Dominick Paladino should be shooting at. That's the head pin and the pin to the right and behind the head pin for the spare, and he'll go a little bit too far to the right. Held onto that ball a little bit too long. Left with the 1-3-4 for a 10-box opportunity for Dominick Paladino with a minimum of a 7-box. Dominick Paladino's past 5 matches, he took 32 spares in the regular season. That was -6 from his previous 5, and he'll take an 8-box here. That will put him at 40 after 4, with 1 to go before he sits, and we say hi to Eric Hallee Sr. again. We'll size up the current leads once the bowlers are back up at even footing in terms of total boxes bowled. But in the meantime, let's see if Dominick Paladino can end his first half of the 3rd game with a nice sweet hammer. And it wasn't for lack of trying. It was on the 1-2 pocket, and he's left with the right side hay bale. 5, 6, 3, 9, 10. No wood for a spare leave. Could be a spare leave, could be a punch out, could be a smattering of pins where 1 remains. Not sure what it's going to be. What do you think? Dominick Paladino will miss to the right. The hay bale is a bit less of a hay bale. The 5, 3, 9 is what he's shooting at now. For a 10 box, again, no wood, clump of pins on the right side towards the middle. He'll take out 2 more for a 9 box, a hard-fought 9 box he went to war for. 49 after 5 for Dominick Paladino. At least I believe so. Just waiting on JJ just to confirm the scores, but it should be 49 in 5 with a 9 box. There we go. Now it's up to date. Say hello to Eric Hallee Sr. again on lane 15 of this playoff match, the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, Class B North, this semifinal match. Winner goes to the championship. Eric Hallee Sr. fires first ball of the 3rd game, and he's dropping 9. Late falling pin equals a 9 drop. Should be a layup single pin spare for Eric Hallee Sr. Should be an easy one, and it's going to be. It's going to be a spare for Hallee Sr. to start out the 3rd game. 10 in a ball after 1. You're watching the ACST playoff match. I'm Steve Kelly. That's Eric Hallee Sr., our home bowler, whom Dominick Paladino is challenging tonight at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, out on the lanes. What more can I tell you about Lakeside Lanes? Lakeside Lanes, you can find it as the first right off of the Massabesic traffic circle after taking exit 1 on 101. That's a 2 fill for Eric Hallee Sr. 12 after 1. Lakeside Lanes is a humble 24-lane house comprised of all wood lanes and approaches. Eric Hallee Sr. trying to convert the half Worcester into a spare, and he's left with a 1 and the 7 on the deck. No can do. I like to think of Lakeside Lanes as if you're going to UNH or Hampton Beach or the Seacoast from 293, but decide to go bowling instead and veer off of the first exit you see on 101. That's an 8-box for Eric Hallee Sr. Or sorry, 10 box, excuse me. 22 after 2 for Eric Hallee Sr. Exit Route 101 in New Hampshire is interesting for bowling alleys. Exit 1 is Lakeside Lanes. If my memory serves, exit 9 is Exeter Lanes. And also if you go to Portsmouth, a little bit further up of 101, you get to go to Portsmouth Bowlerama. So 101 in New Hampshire, great place if you want to go to bowling alleys. Just pick your alley. Eric Hallee Sr. with an 8 drop and then a follow-up spare shot, which will get 32 plus a ball after 3. That was a spare shot on the 4 and the 8 pins specifically. Eric Hallee Sr. stands at 32 plus a ball after 3. At Lakeside Lanes, quote-unquote, meters automatically record the exact number of frames thrown in each at each lane from the front desk. It's kind of cool the way mechanicals work in Candlepin in terms of the pin setters. They're very different from 10-pin. That's a 6-pin. That's a 6-pin fill for Eric Hallee Sr., by the way. It's a 4-horseman left side. For the spare shot, see if he can run it down. He'll take everything out but the 4-pin. Single pin 10-box opportunity for Eric Hallee Sr. He's at 32 after 3. Excuse me, 38 after 3. Forgot to count the fill. That's a 9-box for Hallee Sr., 47 after 4. With 1 to go before he sits, Dominick Paladino had a 49 half. And again, these playoff matches aren't exactly runaways. They all come down to just a few marks, as wide as some of these gaps may seem. This is playoff bowling. It's all about getting the marks when they count. Eric Hallee Sr. drops 6. 4-6, 2-10 is what he's shooting at, and there's no wood to help him. Let's see what Eric Hallee Sr. can do. See if he can sit on a nice mark. It's not going to be easy, though. You got to shoot at the left side, and he'll try it. The 2-pin sails towards the 6, but it doesn't connect with the 6 nor the 10. It's just slightly behind it, so he's shooting for an 8, 9, or 10 box now for a potential 57 half for Eric Hallee Sr. It's going to be a 10 box. That will be a 57 half for Eric Hallee Sr. 57 versus 49 at the half of the third game. We are officially at the halfway point. It's halftime. I don't have a show for you, just a regular match. Eric Hallee Sr. is up by 33, 2.5 game total of 287 to Dominick Paladino's 2.5 game total of 254. And that's Dominick Paladino returning to the approaches. Lane 16 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm Steve Kelly, quote-unquote, on the call. It is great to have you along with us in this playoff match. Semifinals, that's a very quick, angry hammer ball by Dominick Paladino. During the break, Dominick Paladino just took a moment to get some air outside and definitely feeling some reinvigoration right about now, dropping the hammer. Very quick strike, very fast strike. That ball was perfect. Dominick Paladino, 59 plus a fill in the 6th. Let's see if he can regain some lost ground. Dominick Paladino is great at strikes. He told me once that he had multiple triple strikes this year alone. And most of those, I believe, were in Millis. Dominick Paladino bowls the Millis once a month. That's a 9 drop, leaving only the 6 pin for the first ball of the 2-ball fill on the strike. Let's see if he can get a spare on strike. Paladino for the spare, and he'll miss it to the right. That's a 9 fill on the strike. Got the yips on that one, I think. 68 and 6 for Paladino. For a 10 box versus the 6 pin. Single pin 10 box. Let's see if we have a PGS situation going on here. And he fires, and he'll miss it to the left this time. That's a 9 box for Paladino. 77 and 7 for Dominick Paladino. Son of Tony Paladino, whom I bowled with in Doubles League at Leda Lanes. Dominick Paladino, his son Dante, I believe he is 4 years old. Dominick Paladino manages the 43 East Hollis Street mobile station in Nashua, New Hampshire, and man, does he have some crazy, crazy stories. Ask him about it one of these days. Some crazy stuff that he encounters at that mobile station, let me tell you. He does a great job, great professional job handling whatever comes his way. That's a left side half Worcester plus the 5-pin for Dominick Paladino. 1, 2, 4, 7, 5. And will the head pin go last? He'll get touched by a piece of wood, but it won't fall. He's left with a head pin for a 9 or 10 box for Dominick Paladino. For a 9 or 10 box. And I should switch the scoreboard right about now. And that's a 9 box for Dominick Paladino. That is 86 in 8. Doing better than last game for sure, but he could use another mark or two to really get things back on track. He's at 291 before the end of the third game here. He's got to stave off Eric Hallee Sr.'s lead from the first 2 games. Dominick Paladino in the playoffs. He recently faced Kevin Dietrich in the B North quarterfinal. That match is viewable on Candlepin Corner on YouTube. He won that match, needless to say, with a 557 series. He bowled a 117, a 91, a 127, a 125, and a 97. Dominick Paladino washed out the back 3 pins on the left side for the first ball. No spare on the second ball, but pins are still falling. 1, 2, 5 are left on the deck. Paladino had 3 strikes, 11 spares, and 12 tens in that match against Kevin Dietrich. He averaged 111.4 in that playoff match with a 52% perfect box percentage. Dominick Paladino will take an 8 box, leaving the 1 and the 5 pins on the deck for 94 in 9. Dominick Paladino could really use a mark right about now. When he's away, he averages 109.9. Mr. Dominick Paladino. Final ball, lane 16, off to the left of the head pin, but a generous drop. That's the 1, the 8, and the 10 pins on the deck. Some wood behind the 1 pin. May or may not help him, but we'll see what happens. Got to fire on the head pin in some way. Paladino for a spare shot. Could really use this spare shot. Let's see what happens. He fires. On the head pin, touches the 8 pin, the 10 pin falls. JJ Turigny remarking, wow. Wasn't exactly the pin action any of us were expecting to see. He'll take a 9 box. That will put him over 100 at least at 103. But Dominick with a 3-game total of 308, averaging over 100, but again, I don't know if it's going to be enough unless Eric Hallee Sr. has a disastrous second half here in the third game. But let's find out. Thank you for watching. It's going to be exciting. I'm Steve Kelly calling this match, this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North semifinal match. Winner goes to the championship. Away bowler Dominick Paladino versus Eric Hallee Sr., the home bowler. Bowling now, starting out on lane 16. First ball on the head pin, pins dancing around, 5, 7, 10. The Woolworth split, the Matt Susi special, with a piece of wood to the right of the 5 pin to help him out. Eric Hallee Sr. This will be a pretty spare if it goes. Let's watch. Got to play the wood. He does. No different way he really could have played it other than maybe just velocity or an angle. He's left with the 10 pin and the 10 pin only for a 10 box. Eric Hallee Sr. He releases for the 10 box. I think that will be a 10. Should be 67 and 6. It will be. It's Eric Hallee Sr. down there on lane 16. Lane 16 on this hot and humid evening in Manchester, New Hampshire. He drops 7. The 5. What even is that? The 7, 8, and the 5 are what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at with wood across all 3 pins. Should be a fairly generous spare leave for Eric Hallee Sr. And he plays the wood, but oddly enough, the wood spreads, leaving the 8 pin unharmed. So he's shooting at a single pin 10 box now. Eric Hallee Sr. is. Eric Hallee Sr.'s past 5 home matches was a situation where he took 48 points. He started the regular season at his peak season average of 119.8, starting out really hot. Cooled off a little bit, but still was able to make it to the playoffs. For the 10 box, Eric Hallee Sr. will play the wood. We'll take a 10. That should be 77 and 7. The longest streak of games Eric Hallee Sr. bowled that were at or over 110 was 9. And that was week 7 all the way through game 4 of week 8. Impressive streak of games for Eric Hallee Sr. those 9 games in a row, over 110 across 2 matches. He drops 7. 247 is what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at with a piece of wood across the 247. John Alosa just walked in, so John Alosa wants to know who he's going to be facing in the championship. Actually, we have more spectators here than when we started now. Eric Hallee Sr. for the spare, and he'll take that spare. Excuse me, that's a spare, not a strike. 87 plus a ball and 8 for Eric Hallee Sr. now. That spare leave he shot, the 247, was rather elusive when Eric Hallee Sr. was bowling against me. I had some shots like that, and they did not go when I shot the same shot, so I'm feeling a little bit gypped on that. But hey, that's Candlepin bowling for you. Eric Hallee Sr. filling that spare with 7. Good spare for Eric Hallee Sr., especially when Dominick Paladino had a down game like this. 258 are what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at. Here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Will he take the spare? It was a nice full shot, not too full, but just full enough for another spare. 104 plus a ball for Eric Hallee Sr. Ticking, and we're not even done the 9th box yet. He still has a fill. Eric Hallee Sr. doing fantastic. He's up in the match by 26 at this point, and he's not even done the 3rd game. This is how you win playoffs, folks. You got to maintain this lead. That's going to be a 7 drop, 2, 4, 10, I believe. 7 fill, 1, 11, and 9. 2, 4, 10 is what Eric Hallee Sr. is shooting at. Got to hit the 2-4 pocket in some way to kick over to the 10, and he's a little bit too much to the left on the 4 pin, leaving the 2 and the 10 on the deck. Eric Hallee Sr. for the 2 and the 10. He fires 8, 9, or 10 box. It's going to be an 8 box. He's going to conclude with a 119 for a 3-game total of 349 for Eric Hallee Sr. versus Dominick Paladino's 3-game total of 308. That's it for 3 games with 2 to go. Grand total pinfall wins. Eric Hallee Sr. currently up by 41 at the end of the 3rd game here at this playoff match. Dominick Paladino needs to get fired up. 2 games to go. And it's not a runaway just yet, but we're going to see what happens. Let's move on to the 4th game here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Good as always to have you along with us. I'm Steve Kelly back here, and that's Dominick Paladino down there, about to throw his first ball of the 4th game. Here in Manchester, New Hampshire, Lakeside Lanes, he punches a little bit too full. That's a spread eagle minus the 7 pin. The 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 are what Dominick Paladino is shooting at. No wood to help him at all. It's going to be a rough shot. Likely not a spare, but it's pretty when it goes. Dominick Paladino will fire on the right side. He'll take the 6 and the 10 out. Now he's just got to pin it out. 2, 3, 4 are left on the deck for Dominick Paladino here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Owner Tim Lipke, an old pro himself. If you just search Tim Lipke on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find plenty of old matches from the old days where Tim Lipke would just be awe-inspiring in terms of how amazing he bowled. And he owns Lakeside Lanes here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and his son Shane Lipke also works here and does a great job maintaining the place. Had some great conversations with Shane over the past couple of years, in the couple of years that I've known him since I've been bowling here. Paladino off to the left of the head pin, dropping what appears to be 4. And ugly spare leave, but the 1-3 pocket is where you should shoot at. Paladino. On the 1-3 pocket, it nearly goes. That was a great shot. Left the 4 and the 4 only. That's one of those shots where you just sit there and you go, how in the heck did that not go? You know, you get upset because you're like, that should have gone. I would have thrown it any differently, but sometimes it's just the physics of Candlepin. Dominick Paladino runs down the last pin for a 10 box. That's 18 after 2. Here in Manchester, New Hampshire. Dominick Paladino with a regular season record of 133 and 119. Finished with a over 1.0 win-loss ratio, 1.11 specifically. Paladino fires on lane 15. Will he get another strike? He's great at strikes. He'll drop 9, leaving the 4 pin, the 4 pin only on the deck. Single pin spare for Dominick Paladino he's shooting at now. Kevin Davis just walking in, who was a great spectator in our last match. And by our last match, I mean between me and Eric Hallee Sr. Dominick Paladino, he just kind of smiled and laughed at himself a little bit. He missed the single pin spare. I saw that face. Dominick Paladino is my doubles partner in the Leda Lanes Thursday doubles league, summer doubles league that is. He'll take a 10 box That's a PGS. Missed the second, get the third. Second 10 box in a row for 28 after 3 for Dominick Paladino. Cue up his info card to show you that again here in a little bit. But Dominick Paladino, first ball of the fourth box. Lane 15, he's on the head pin. 1-3 pocket, awkward split of pins. 2-4-10 is what he's shooting at. Awkward spare leave, there's no wood to help him on the 2-4-10. 10 pin is orange. I'll explain to you the orange pin pool in a little bit. That's a fun pool at Lakeside Lanes in the leagues. If you ever join a league at Lakeside Lanes, which you should, by the way, Paladino will take out the 4 and leave the 2 and the 10 on the deck. 8, 9, or 10 box for Dominick Paladino. 8, 10, 10 is what he shot so far for this game. He'll take a 9 box. First 9 box of the fourth game. 37 after 4 for Paladino. Here's Dominick Paladino's regular season stats. He finished 6th place, earning himself a wild card spot as the 2nd seed. Again, with a positive season record. Great season average. Check out that high 5, a 603 that he threw. And again, Dominick Paladino is great at strikes specifically. If I have to highlight one specific stat that he's really good at, both in and out of the ACST, he's great at throwing some hammers. I think some points of improvement could include spares and 10s, though. That's a left side washout for Dominick Paladino. That's the 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. And he takes a few more out for the road. The 1, 5, 3, 8 are left on the deck. 10 box. Opportunity for Dominick Paladino. 1, 5, 3, 8. And he'll take 2 of the 4 out. He'll take an 8 box. And that's going to be 45 after 5. A little bit low for Dominick Paladino. 4.5 game total of 353 for Mr. Paladino. We're going to be saying hello to Eric Hallee Sr. once again of the approaches of Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's Eric Hallee Sr. down there. I'm Steve Kelly back here. It's great to have you along. Show you real quick the stats for Eric Hallee Sr. In the regular season, he was a division leader, earning himself a spot in the playoffs by defeating his other 3 opponents in the division. So Eric Hallee Sr. drops 6, so 1, 3, 6, 10. The 6-pin slid a little bit, actually. Running down the 1, 3, 6, 10 right side 4 horsemen is what Eric Hallee Sr. has to do on lane 15. Will he do it? The 6-pin that slid was likely the reason this isn't going to go, but the 10-pin is wiggling, so all the pins got touched, but the 10-pin, I'll tell you, that wiggling 6-pin, and Eric Hallee Sr. just glanced at me like, can you believe that? And I go, yeah, man. I don't know if I can, but no spare shot. So Eric Hallee Sr., 9 or 10 box. He'll take a 9 box after all is said and done. He'll fight hard for that 9. But that's the story of the first box for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. finished 3rd place in D North Division 3 behind J.J. Turigny and Steve Kelly. Excuse me, that was Dominick Paladino. Excuse me. My wrong stat sheet up. Anyways, Eric Hallee Sr. with a left side cleary. That is the 1, 2, 4, 7, 9. He has to hit the 1, 2 pocket to run down the left side 4 horsemen and hope you take the 9. The 9 pin is the difficult shot to take on lane 15. Eric Hallee Sr. But he made this once before in the mirror image version of the shot, and he does it. That's a great spare for Eric Hallee Sr. 19 plus a ball after 2 for Eric Hallee Sr. He's hit 2 versions of that shot, the left side version and the right side version. Eric Hallee Sr. showing us how it's done. Paul Grant once labeled that shot the Steve Kelly special, but we might have to label it the Eric Hallee Sr. special. We'll have to tally up who got more of these at the end of this match. Eric Hallee Sr. dropping 7 on that spare fill. The left side 4 horsemen minus the 4 pin. 1, 2, 7 on the deck. Let's see what Eric Hallee Sr. can do. 1, 2, 7. Will he take it? That's another spare for Eric Hallee Sr. 36 plus a ball after 3. Doing great. 2 spares in a row for Eric Hallee Sr. He's been doing great with chaining these marks together specifically. Look at the spares he's got. 1 strike, 12 spares. Way more than Dominick Paladino's 1 strike and 5 spares if you're just looking at the mark counts. Marks win games, and this is no exception. Eric Hallee Sr., oh boy, that was a misfire. I could tell before it even reached halfway down the lane. That's a 2 fill, right side half Worcester. Kevin Davis giving him some crap about that one. Kevin Davis kept yelling head pin at Eric Hallee Sr. when he was facing me when he would miss the head pin. And he's off to the left of the head pin this time. Left with the 1 and the 6 on the deck for an 8, 9, or 10 box opportunity for Eric Hallee Sr. at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's Eric Hallee Sr. down there. I'm Steve Kelly back here. Thanks for watching. Eric Hallee Sr. attempting to take it for a 10. He'll take a 9 instead. 47 after 4 for Eric Hallee Sr. That's up 10 against Dom in the same point in the game. But Hallee Sr. maintaining a comfortable 43-pin lead, and he's still -1 box. So at this point, you kind of see what's happening here, but it's not over yet. You never know what could happen. There could be an epic collapse. That has happened before in the Atlantic Campus Singles Tour. You never know what's going to happen. Eric Hallee Sr. versus the 1 and the 8 pins on an 8 drop at the beginning. Eric Hallee Sr. versus the 1 and 8. The shot can be interestingly difficult. You have to hit it just full enough, but not too wide enough. But he'll hit it just full enough. That's a spare for Eric Hallee Sr. Another spare, 57 plus a ball after 5. Eric Hallee Sr.
Don't let him walk on you like that.
Kevin Davis now cheering Dominick on, saying, don't let him walk on you like that. Kevin Davis is a legend. Also, just like Tim Lipke, if you search Kevin Davis on YouTube for the old school analog WNDS TV 50 Stars and Strikes stuff, Kevin Davis, a legend himself. He's also in attendance in the audience. A bunch of old pros in the audience here tonight. Anyways, that's Dominick Paladino starting out with a 6 drop. Awkward 6 drop, hitting a little bit full. 4.627 is what Dominick Paladino is shooting at here at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. He's at 45 after 5. The 2-4 pocket is what he should be hitting. And he fires on the 2-5 pocket. If the 5 pin was still standing, he's left with the 6 pin. Took out the left half, but the right pin on the right half remains. For 9 or 10 box, Dominick Paladino fires. He'll take a 10 box. Puts him at 55 after 6. And let me just show you the stats for Dominick Paladino one more time. I said regular season stats. Hopefully Dominick Paladino will be able to go on to the championship. I don't have the stats in front of me, but last year Dominick Paladino was also in the playoffs. I forget if he made it to this round or not. I believe he was facing Tony Levesque last year. That's a 9 drop for Paladino against the 10 pin. That match, ooh boy. It's always interesting when you thread the needle between the pin in the back right corner, the back left corner, and the gutter, but he did it. No spare for Dominick Paladino. He's now shooting for a 10 box on that 9 drop, and he'll nick it for a 10. Second 10 box in a row. That's 65 and 7 for Paladino. He can easily reconcile this deficit with a couple of strikes. Kevin Davis does the math in his head, and he says $120, no double. Thank you, Kevin Davis, for doing the math. I can't do that fast. Paladino, 65 and 7. He fires on the head pin, a little bit full. It's not for lack of trying. The 4 pin wiggling, but it's a spread eagle minus the 2 pin. 4.63, 7.10. As the summer of '69 comes on the radio here at Lakeside Lanes. I'm trying to talk to make sure it doesn't get picked up by any copyright stuff. Dominick Paladino will take out the 6 and the 10, left with the 3, the 4, and the 7. And it's a salvage mission, 7, 8, 9, or 10 box for Dominick Paladino on lane 16 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Dominick Paladino takes 2 more out for a 9 box, 74 and 8. And he's got 2 to go before he concludes the 4th game here. I wouldn't say it's a disaster, but he kind of needs to pick up the pace a little bit here. Paladino here, first ball of the 9th frame. With playoff championship aspirations for Paladino, and he'll miss the head pin just slightly, dropping 6. 137.10 is what he's shooting at. 137.10. The orange pin head pin. So, hey, this is a good time to talk about the orange pin pool. So at Lakeside, as you can see, the orange pin is the head pin. It's not always the head pin if you look at the other lane. If the pin setter puts down the head pin is the orange pin, you get a mark, like maybe right now. Oh, man, he almost got it, too. You get entered into a raffle if you play the pool at Lakeside Lanes. That's called the orange pin pool. And it's surprising how often you might win that raffle. So if you're bowling a league at Lakeside Lanes, be sure to play that orange pin pool. Dominick Paladino will take an unfortunate 9 box. It was a great spare bid. The offer was not accepted. And at this point, he's at 83 and 9. My goodness. Markless here in the 4th. This is, well, let's just say I've been there. If you want to see the results of the match between me and Eric Hallee Sr. here at Lakeside Lanes, I had a 4th game kind of like this. Markless. And I hate to see a repeat, but Dominick Paladino will drop 9. Maybe he can break this curse. He's left with the 4-pin and the 4-pin only with that slow-moving 9 drop. It's kind of a wraparound domino effect. Dominick. Dominick versus the 4-pin for a spare. He could really use the spare just to kind of really try to keep a foot out of the water, and my goodness, he misses the 4-pin. Again, threading the needle between the channel and the 4-pin. If only that 4-pin was maybe an inch to the left, he would have gotten it. And he'll miss the second and get the third. You know the rest of the lyrics. That's a 10 box. That's a 93 fourth game for Dominick Paladino. Ouch. My condolences for that game, Dominick. 93 in the fourth for a 4-game total of 401. And at this point, Eric Hallee Sr. leads by 5, and he's minus 5 boxes and a fill. So, yes, if you understand what that means, Eric Hallee Sr. is in a very comfortable position right now, and he'll drop 9, adding 9 more to that lead. I think Eric Hallee Sr. wants it. That's a 9 drop, leaving the 5-pin on lane 16. It's a single pin spare, no wood. He'll fire on it. He'll take it. Single pin spare. Kevin Davis going, oh yeah. Second mark in a row, second spare in a row. 76 plus a ball for Eric Hallee Sr. John Alosa in attendance. Shane Lipke saying John Alosa's shaking in his boots. And it's funny when John Alosa's actually here to hear that. John Alosa hearing all these rumors about pins not falling, but I think the pin action tonight's a little bit better than it was against my match against Eric for sure. Eric versus the 1-2-6-10. Spare leave, 6 fill on that spare, by the way. Catch up on the scoreboard here in just a moment. And he can't get the 3-peat. No third spare in a row. He'll miss the head pin. He'll take out the 2-pin, leaving the 1, the 6, and the 10 for a 7, 8, 9, or 10 box for Eric Hallee Sr. to conclude the 7th box. Hallee Sr. fires. He'll miss off to the right. He'll take a 9 box, leaving the head pin. 91 and 7 for Eric Hallee Sr. With 3 to go before we sit Eric Hallee Sr. up in the match by 39, and he's down 3 boxes, believe it or not. Folks, if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more, check out Candlepin Bowling Network and Candlepin Corner on YouTube. 2 great YouTube channels with great content, great unique content on each channel, so check out both for some awesome pro, professional, and ace, and maybe slightly under-professional, semi-pro. No matter what it is, check out these 2 channels on YouTube for some awesome Candlepin Bowling content. That is Candlepin Bowling Network and Candlepin Corner on YouTube. Eric Hallee Sr. with a 7 drop, and he'll miss the spare, leaving the 4 and the 5 pins on the deck. The 2 sticks, 4 and 5. Got to pick a stick. 8, 9, or 10 for Eric Hallee Sr. And he'll go for it, but he'll get a mini field goal. Can't give him 3 points, but how about 8? Let's say 8. 99 and 8 for Eric Hallee Sr. And, of course, if you think you can bowl better than Dominick Paladino or Eric Hallee Sr., check out candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest bowling center. Check out that map. There's bowling centers everywhere, especially on Route 101 in New Hampshire. And that's a 9 drop. That's a strike by Eric Hallee Sr. He is on it. That is, how many marks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks this game for Eric Hallee Sr. Oops, that was what I meant to click. 109 plus a fill in the 9th for Eric Hallee Sr. with a nearly 4-game total of 458, but he's not done yet, folks. He's not done yet. 109 plus a fill for Eric Hallee Sr. And he fires. He misses the head pin this time. That is a left side half Worcester minus the 10 and a couple extra friends. That's the 1, 3, 6, 9, 4, 7 on the deck. We'll size up the fill after this ball. The fill ends up being almost a spare on strike. The 4 pin is the only one left. That's a 9 fill for Eric Hallee Sr. 118 in the 9th. 9 or 10 is what he's shooting at now. Potential for a 128 game if he can take the 4 pin out. It will be 128 in the 4th for 477 4-game total for Eric Hallee Sr. Up by 76 against Dominick Paladino at the end of the 4th. Dominick Paladino needs to have a monster 5th game, as he is the last hope for Class B North Division 3. With Steve Kelly eliminated, Paul Mativia eliminated, and JJ Cherokee eliminated. Dominick Paladino, the last man standing at this division. It was funny, we were talking about how we could run the table in terms of playoffs, but it's a very different story a few weeks later. Dominick Paladino drops 8. That is the 1 and the 2. Down on lane 15 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Paladino shooting for a spare. 1-2, no wood. Just a 1-2 pocket. That's the one you shoot at. He fires. He misses the one to the right. Slightly to the right. Poor guy misses it. Dominick Paladino for an 8, 9, or 10 box now. First box of the 5th game. He'll take an 8. 8 after 1 for Dominick Paladino. And again, we're at very busy Lakeside Lanes at Manchester, New Hampshire. I heard Shane Lipke talking in the background saying just a couple hours ago they were completely full here. And because of the recent closure of Park Place Lanes in Wyndham, New Hampshire, Lakeside Lanes has been a very busy bowling alley. Don't let the quietness or the lack of activity on the lanes right now discourage you. This place gets crazy busy. Great business here in Manchester at Lakeside Lanes. Paladino with a left side half Worcester, right side lemon drop. My goodness, just no luck right now. Just punch, punch, punch. So it's a 3 box or higher for Dominick Paladino now on lane 15. Paladino, he fires on the head pin on the 1-3 pocket. A little bit too light on it. He'll take a 7 box for 15 after 2 for Dominick Paladino. Dominick Paladino, who finished the regular season 3rd place in B North Division 3 behind J.J. Turigny and Steve Kelly, and ahead of Paul Mativier. That was where he landed at the end of the season. And he drops 5 with the left side Cleary. That's named after Bob Cleary. That's apparently... And the story on that, thank you, Bob Lee, for filling me in on the Cleary shot. That has to do with someone who talked about this kind of shot a lot. It was the 4 horseman left or right side plus a sleeper pin in the back, and the Cleary wins against Dominick Paladino, leaving the 7 and the 9 pins on the deck. And he'll take a 9 box. Again, just chopping out pins, chopping wood, 24 after 3. I won't necessarily say things are looking kind of disastrous, but Dominick Paladino needs marks at this point. If you're just tuning in, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, a season-long series of one-on-one Candlepin bowling matches between challengers organized into classes and divisions, competing for playoff contention. We are in the playoffs, needless to say. This is the semifinal round of the Class B North playoff specifically. Dominick Paladino drops 6. That's a banana split with wood across both halves of it. 4, 6, 7, 10. I would play the left side of this. Look at that wood across the 4 and the 7, and how it's slightly at more of an angle than the right side, and that's particularly why Dominick plays it perfectly, but the 6 pin stays. Again, some shots you think should go, but they just don't. 9 or 10 box for Dominick Paladino, and he'll take a 10. 4 guys at 34 after 4 at this point. Paladino. If you live in the area or are willing to make the pilgrimage, the Candlepin bowling community would absolutely love your business and your patronage or your sheer interest in visitation. Check out candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center if you'd like to give this unique regional sport a try. Candlepin bowling is a sport in which a player rolls a ball down a lane and attempts to knock down up to 10 pins in a frame, also known as a box in the Candlepin lingo. Depending on how soon those 10 pins are knocked down, the amount of points awarded to the total score become more valuable and offer more chances to compound and provide higher returns. And Dominick finishing off with a frustrating 10 box. That's 44 after 5 for Mr. Dominick Paladino. So we're just going to be waiting for Eric Hallee Sr. here just to come back. He's just taking a quick breather. But yeah, so anyways, so continue our little mini lecture about Candlepin bowling in the meantime. So yes, for example, knocking down 9 pins in the first ball in Candlepin, and then the 10th pin in the second ball is known as a mark, and what results in a spare. That is very similar to 10 pin, very similar rules, and basically the next ball of the next frame, the first ball, awards more points on top of the previous box. That's known as a fill. For strikes in which all pins are knocked down in the first ball, the same rule applies to spares, but in Candlepin, the first 2 balls count towards the fill value. So why would you maybe consider Candlepin bowling over 10-pin? Well, compared to 10-pin bowling, Candlepin allows for up to 3 balls thrown in a frame as opposed to the maximum of 2 in 10-pin. In Candlepin, knocking down all 10 pins at the 3rd ball results in a 10 box, so it's kind of a nice, little bit more of a merciful scoring opportunity. Think of it as a spare with a 0 fill. I also like to say that 10-pin is a solved game. Candlepin is not. There has never been a perfect game thrown in Candlepin, whereas 10-pin, it happens every other day, it seems. Eric Hallee Sr., meanwhile, dropping 6 for the first ball of the 5th and final game here. 1, 2, 4, 7. He collides with the 1 a little bit too full, and he's left with the 2, 4, 7 on the deck for a 10 box. One of the coolest things about Candlepin bowling is that it's a more accessible game compared to 10-pin bowling also. And the reason for that is, well, for one, the bowling balls are significantly smaller and lighter. That's an 8 box for Eric Hallee Sr., by the way. And since the balls are smaller and lighter, there's lessening strength and age requirements by a significant margin. You know, it's much easier to huck a 2.7 ball down the lane than, you know, like a 10 to 15 pound ball down the lane. Candlepin bowling is a great sport to play for folks of nearly any age. The flexibility of the sport's physical requirements allow a wide variety of accessibility, so think far less back pain than 10-pin bowling. You know, again, lighter balls to throw, less effort needed there. There's room for breaks and rest between turns, camaraderie among friendly competition, and that's something one does not often see in other sports. It's also a sport where you can, you know, drink while playing. You can't do that in a lot of other sports. Eric Hallee Sr. just chopping out pins for the 10 box. He'll take a 10. 18 after 2 for Eric Hallee Sr. Candlepin bowling was first played in 1880 in Worcester, Massachusetts. It's thought to have been developed by a Justin Pop White, owner of a billiards and bowling hall. And at Leda Lanes, there's a plaque on the wall at Kegler's Den, and it reads, quote, "During the Middle Ages, various forms of bowling became popular in European countries. The English bowled in the 1100s. Around the 1300s, the Germans rolled or threw stones at wooden clubs called kegels. Today, bowlers are still often called keglers." Well, I don't know about that last sentence, but hey, the more you know. And Eric Hallee Sr. trying to make something happen here, get something started, but he can't quite do it. He's left with the 2-pin and the 2-pin only down there on the deck. The highest game ever recorded in Candlepin is only 245 out of 300, and it hasn't been bowled recently. I want to say 2010-ish it was bowled, and there's no video evidence of it, but enough people have recorded it, and it was bowled by Chris Sargent down in Massachusetts. I forget which house. If you know, please let me know in the comments. I know I could look it up, but I'm not going to look it up while broadcasting. That's cheating. Eric Hallee Sr. dropping 7, meanwhile. That's the 5-6-3 on the deck, the triangle on the right side. Let's take a look at that. Might be one of his first spare leads of this game so far. We've kind of slowed down a little bit here in the 5th game. Eric Hallee Sr. on lane 15 for the spare shot. Offer not accepted. He didn't hit the object pin. He's left with the 3 and the 6. And Eric Hallee Sr. will miss the last 2. We'll take an 8 box. Both bowlers kind of slowing down here just a little bit, but Eric Hallee Sr. had a considerable lead from the first 4 games. He's still up by 67, and he's not even at even footing with Dominick Paladino in terms of the box count here. So that just shows the importance of the marks. Look at that mark count, by the way. 2 and 14 strikes and spares for Hallee Sr. versus 1 and 5 for Dominick Paladino, as Hallee Sr. drops 7, the 1, 2, and the 4 are on the deck. Eric Hallee Sr. will he get his first spare of this half of this game? He will. Sorry, not a strike, a spare. For 45 plus a ball to conclude his final first half of this 5-game series. Eric Hallee Sr. up by 77 plus a ball at this point. So at this point, Dominick Paladino needs to pull out all the stops. This is playoff bowling. You got to do everything. If you got a trick, you go for it. And anyways, back in terms of Candlepin bowling, for those who enjoy predictable, repetitive, routine-oriented actions and tasks, I would highly recommend Candlepin bowling, as it has a somewhat regimented and structural framework to it. I know I certainly enjoy the dopamine effect it grants when I bowl, with particular attention to the potential of throwing a blockbuster and record-breaking game, along with the thrill of mentally calculating how many marks I can throw and how much of a score I can effectively compact into a small array of frames. Dominick Paladino left with the 1, the 4, and the 7, and he misses the 1, 4, 7 for a 7 box. For 51 after 6. And he's got 4 boxes to go. He's at 51 after 6, and he's gotta find 70 pins and also kind of create a buffer in order to go on to the championship here. That's Dominick Paladino down there. I'm Steve Kelly back here. Pleasure as always to have you along. Thanks for watching this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North semifinal playoff match, and Dominick Paladino just having a heck of a time out there with the remains of the spread eagle. Oops. Down on the lanes. My goodness. And he's just having trouble. 7-10, 4-6-2. He misses the spare. Just no luck for Dominick Paladino here. And he'll miss it. That's a 5 box. At this point, I think that basically does it. I don't like to say that, but that's effectively going to be it unless he can just throw all strikes here at this point and Eric Hallee Sr. somehow lays an egg for the rest of the match. So at this point, I think Eric Hallee Sr. has it. And Dominick Paladino will wash out the right side. The 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 is what he's shooting at for a spare with no wood to help him on lane 16 at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. And he fires on the pocket. Great shot, great bid. The 5-pin, though, is somehow protected against all of that action. Again, I've said this multiple times about Dominick tonight. A lot of these shots, I wouldn't have played any differently. It's always like one pin that doesn't cooperate, or the pin, or the wood doesn't fly right, or stuff just doesn't happen as it should. And unfortunately, that just happens. You know, Candlepin rolling for you. Dominick Paladino with that 10 box will sit at 66 after 8, and man, he's just struggling. Dominick Paladino, known for strikes, though. Let's see what he can do here on lane 16, and he's off to the right, another washout. That's the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. Missed the headpin off to the right, just slightly off about that first ball. He was really on it earlier, but now he's just having some trouble. So, left side of the left half of the pins are still on the deck. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. Paladino will punch out a couple more. That's a 5 box, unfortunately. 72. No, 6 box. Excuse me. JJ put it in as a 6. Just staying in sync with JJ. And Dominick, oh my goodness, another punch out, a left side punch out this time. And you know, this is reminiscent again of when I bowled Eric Hallee Sr. Just sometimes the pins just don't fall. And he tries to convert for a spare. One last hurrah of the season for Dominick Paladino, but the 7-pin doesn't want to join the party for the final farewell tour. That's a 10 box for Dominick Paladino. That is going to be, unfortunately, a 5-game total of 483 for Dominick Paladino. Eric Hallee Sr., with still 1 half to go, is already at a 4.5 game total of 522 plus a ball. So at this point, we can wish Eric Hallee Sr. congratulations. He will be going to the championship of Class B North, the divisional, against John Alosa, and it will be at Boutwell's Bowling Center in Concord, New Hampshire. That match will be to be determined in terms of scheduling, and Eric Hallee Sr. just putting it away, or just adding on extra pins, more or less just for some additional bragging rights at this point. A hammer 65 plus a fill in 6 for Eric Hallee Sr. Eric Hallee Sr. on absolute fire. He fires again. Can he get 2 in a row? Will he get 2? He drops all but the 5-pin. And the 5-pin wiggles, so he touches all 10. But he's left with the 5-pin. 65 plus 9 plus maybe 10. Can it be a spare on strikes? Single pin spare for Eric Hallee Sr. He misses the single pin spare. That's a 9 fill overall. 74 and 6 for Eric Hallee Sr. Shooting for a 10 box on the 5-pin. Will he miss the second, get the third? Let's find out. Will it be a PGS? He'll miss it again, wide right this time for a 9 box. 83 and 7 for Eric Hallee Sr. At 560 and 3 boxes to go. So as we finish things off here, Eric Hallee Sr. off to the right of the headpin, dropping 6, 1, 7, 10, 4. I'd like to give a special thanks to our ACST League Commissioner Danny Finn, our ACST stats and numbers crunched by Micah Imperato, for Brian Hebert for helping me with the graphics direction for the slides and overall aesthetics, the staff at Lakeside Lanes, and of course all of our spectators here tonight. And I'd like to thank you for watching however you are, whenever you are, whether it be live, whether it be shortly after, whether it be like 18,000 years from now. I just thank you for watching. That's an 8-box for Eric Hallee Sr. I always appreciate you guys watching and your interest in Candlepin Bowling. Hope this was a pleasant viewing experience for you. If you enjoyed what you saw and you want to see more, I invite you to strike, comment, and subscribe to the multiverse of Candlepin Bowling, such as the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook, the Candlepin Chat group on Facebook, Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube, Candlepin Corner on YouTube, Alley Chat on YouTube, Ripping the Rack podcast on YouTube, Wolfman12395 on YouTube for uploads of classic Candlepin matches of yesteryear, the Candlepin Bowling channel on YouTube, and The Approach if you're into podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. Check that out if you're into Candlepin Bowling and want to go nuts about it. Eric Hallee Sr. versus the 1 and the 10. And that will be a 9-box, putting him at 109. And he's at 577 plus whatever this final box is before we conclude. But Eric Hallee Sr. has locked it up and is going to the championship against John Olosa for Class B North. Class B North Division 3 started this playoff series with everyone in playoff contention, but all of us fell like dominoes one by one. Steve Kelly, actually Paul Mativier going first, Steve Kelly going down second, JJ Torini going down third, and Dominick Paladino going down last. We're all equal losers by the end of the playoffs. Eric Hallee Sr. for a 10-box. He's left with a 7, and he's going to conclude with final ball of this match. It's going to be a 9-box for 109 for a 5-game total of 586 for Eric Hallee Sr. versus Dominick Paladino's 5-game total of 483. Eric Hallee Sr. wins by 103. 3 strikes, 15 spares versus Dominick Paladino's 1 strike and 5 spares. That is going to do it for us from Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. I want to thank you very much for watching this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. Again, it is going to be Dominick Paladino versus John Olosa in the championship of the Class B 2023-24 playoffs. Big congratulations to Eric Hallee Sr. We'll see you guys back for the championship match on the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. And that'll be it for us from here at Lakeside Lanes. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, check out the Friday Night Pro League and all the other live events on Candlepin Bowling Network, such as the Candlepin Pro Series, Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, and all that other stuff, as well as Candlepin Corner for other ACST matches and Candlepin Skins. Please be sure to strike, comment, and subscribe. And if you're into Candlepin Bowling, you think you can bowl better than Eric Hallee Sr. or Dominick Paladino, check out candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center. Again, check out that map if you live anywhere near those dropped pins. Get in a car and start driving to find your nearest center, and they would appreciate your business wherever you end up going in the Candlepin Bowling world. Anyways, I've been Steve Kelly, and for Eric Hallee Sr. and Dominick Paladino at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire, have a great one, everybody.